also going to be talking about my final project. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is my philosophy page, which is right here. I want to have a classroom where students feel like they belong. Prevention is important also to me, and I feel like it should be used with positive discipline. And I also believe that students will not be praised for their correct behavior. I don't think praising exactly leads to what we want, if that makes sense. I believe that students act out because they want to feel as though or they act out because they feel like they don't belong. And it's important to make students feel like they belong in the classroom and make sure their needs are being met. And once you do that, then you won't have as much acting out or problems within your classroom because you are avoiding them. Also, as a teacher, I want to have positive and strong relationships with my students where they respect me and also, like I said earlier, feel that need in the classroom. In my classroom right here, I talk about the roles and responsibilities of teachers and students. I believe the teacher's role is to be the peacemaker in the classroom. Additionally, they have the responsibility to help students learn how to handle their misbehavior, see students in a positive light, be flexible with their plans, and have clear instructions. And for students, their role is with rule development, following the rules, being kind, completing their assignments, being prepared and ready each day. It's also their responsibility to have respect and stay on task and focused. Overall, I think I'm a mix of medium and high control, but I tend to lean more towards the high control. I base a lot of my theory off Marvin Marshall's positive discipline, which is high control, and I really love Rudolf Dreeker's logical consequences, which is medium control. And Marvin Marshall talks a lot about how we talked earlier about how we're needing to fill needs to stop the acting out in the classroom. And Rudolf Dreeker talks about how, like, when you have someone acting out, you provide a consequence that would logically follow what they did, which I just think is a really important skill to learn in life. Next is my democratic classroom page, and here's my foldable right here. You can see I talk about my classroom jobs, student leadership, student choice, student voice, and civility. All important things right there. My democratic classroom statement is my democratic classroom, or I believe a democratic classroom, is led by a teacher and student through constant conversation that builds positive relationships through trust and through specific strategies such as classroom jobs, guiding instruction, application, and is seen through progress. In my classroom, I want to have classroom jobs that teach my students the idea of ownership and helps them feel in control of their learning environment. I think that's filling a need for power. I think it's also important to incorporate ideas of student leadership by giving students different leadership positions. I want to do this because it builds community and responsibility. Some other important things to do is provide autonomy and help my students feel needed in the classroom. Would be by student choice, student voice, and the importance of civility, which are the other things that I talk about right here. My intentions for motivation page is right here. I talk about how it's really good to use extrinsic at the beginning of the year and move to intrinsic because it's just more reasonable that way. Extrinsic, an example of that could be like a classroom where you provide tickets to students who are behaving well and then they can use those tickets to get a reward. Intrinsic would be more later on where you describe the why behind assignments. It's just doing that and showing interest in students completing their assignments. They're motivated internally to complete projects and just to participate within the classroom. Next is my rules and procedures page, which is right here. I have my rules in little flip books, and then kind of describing my whys right here, and then I have the positive report at the top. I'll talk about that second portion in a minute, but I'll talk about this page first. So for my rules, my first rule is to be kind to others and yourself. Second, raise your hand with the bathroom sign, which is this, when you need to go to the bathroom. Third is listen quietly when others are speaking. 4 is showing respect for the teacher and classmates and personal property. And I want to be sure to have posters in my classroom that show this very obviously. It's something that students will know, and there'll be positive and negative consequences for each of those, which I include in there. I also believe that students and teachers will create rules together because it creates community in the classroom, and that we need rules and procedures in the classroom because it's an effective form of prevention and it helps the classroom function smoothly. For this page right here in the middle, talking about positive report, I think it's important to be respectful to our students and our actions and the words that we say, and learn your students' names and get to know them individually, because once you do that, they're just more inclined to build that relationship with you, which is really important. Next, I'm going to talk about prevention right here and my procedures. I want to implement, or I wrote down 3 procedures when I was doing this project. One would be the bathroom or how to leave the room procedure, and that would be me modeling, like pointing out where my hall passes are and what it would look like in different situations. The second one would be turning in paperwork. I would show them where the box is and model how to put the paper in the bin and the importance of having your name on the sheet. And the last one I discussed is a classroom library and the importance of orderliness and showing them how to put things back in place. Almost lastly, is my intervention page right here. I'm going to talk about 3 different types of intervention that I have. This again follows kind of like my high and medium control and kind of how I would provide discipline or intervention. If students are talking during instruction, which I would intervene with more of a mild and say the teacher looks at the students talking and sends an iMessage of, I can see you guys are chatting, now let's get back on task. That lets you know how you are feeling and how you want them to be acting in a kind of positive way. If a student is having a hard time getting to work, this is more moderate. You would have the teacher discusses that it's ready to work time and that we need to show that acceptable behavior of working, and if it's too hard you can chunk the assignment to be easier so they can experience more success. If a student's constantly tattling, that's more chronic and you want to talk to the student in private and give a consequence. Last is my classroom map right here. This is for direct instruction. You can see the students are facing forward towards the whiteboard, away from distractions. That way they'll be focused. And then I have group instruction right here, and this would be in groups of 4, and they would be able to work together very nicely, and they're near my desk and also the whiteboard, and still again they'll be focused on each other and not the outside. And lastly, in the back here I have my copies of my personal philosophy paper and my classroom narrative and my intentions for motivation. So that's everything. Thanks for watching.